Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the beach. I am out at Penrose Point State Park today with special permission from the Washington State Parks to be out here after hours, definitely. And I'm gonna catch up with our beach monitoring team here in just a second. But I thought I would give you a beach walk from the very start all the way up here at the forest, at the grass. And we'll walk along and see what we can see, kind of making our way through those different tidal zones until we catch up with our friends who are doing some community science on the other side of the beach. So let me flip this around so I don't blind you guys. That we are right here at the top of the beach. You can see there's trees right there, not far from the forest at all. And already we can see evidence of animals in like these oyster shells and things like that. Plenty of barnacles out here tonight. And the animals that live at this part of the beach, they're exposed now. It's 45 degrees Fahrenheit, which is not the coldest that it will be. But they have to be able to withstand the cold during the low tides at night. They need to be able to withstand like the hottest day of the year. And low tides are during the middle of the day. They need to withstand storms and drying out and just really extreme things. I've got a couple of nice logs here that the storms have brought in, and these logs are already starting to be claimed by sea life. We've got plenty of barnacles living on them. Even this tiny knot has formed like a little miniature tide pool, and there's a few periwinkle snails and some barnacles and limpet inside there. Oh, and some sand fleas. Can you see this little creature right there? Those are amphipods. These really fascinating little creatures. I call them sand fleas because they jump on the beach quite often. This log has been here for a number of years, and it's definitely got all kinds of life on it. Look at these checkered periwinkles here, just perfectly checkered. Lots and lots of barnacles. Some of these barnacles are like brand new. This is their first year. Some of them are older and have survived a couple of seasons. There's a few more of those amphipods moving around. Love to see those. So I'm out at Penrose tonight, but if you want to tell me where you're watching from, I'd love to know that information. It is much cooler tonight than it was last night, and there is a bit of wind, so apologies in advance for that wind noise. I will do my best to block with my body, but sometimes it kind of comes from all directions, so that makes it pretty tricky. But I'm going to come walk. This is Penrose Point State Park. It has this amazing long peninsula that's exposed during the tides, and I'm going to kind of walk up the beach a bit so that we can catch up with our beach monitoring team and see what they're all about tonight. Oh, there they are. Nice. We are, of course, the only ones out here on the beach. One, because the park is closed, but two, because it's pretty uncomfortable to be out in the dark. I don't want to jinx us by saying that it's not raining, but that's about as good as it will get when it comes to our winter community science efforts. Here's a little tide pool here. Oh, look, we've got a couple of hermit crabs in here. These are hairy hermits, and they select a shell that is too small for them. And this one right here is a great example. That shell is way too tiny for him or her. They like to be really nimble and quick, and a small shell kind of allows for that. There's another hermit crab species in here that are much, much smaller. You can see them in those smaller periwinkle snail shells. Well, they don't make them and they don't grow with them, but the snails that make those shells do grow with them. And so the hermit crabs have to find just the right size shell that fits them for whatever stage of growth they are in. And that can be really tricky. Sometimes they will take them from the snails themselves. Otherwise, they'll grab them when the snails have died, or they'll trade or steal them from other hermit crabs. I'm on this great kind of clay section of the beach right here. It's so much softer than the rock. And I traded out my extra tufts, which are not insulated, for some nice insulated bog boots today. Trying to stay as warm as I can. All right, let's go see what our community scientists are up to. Sounds like they're having a good time over here. All right, friends, we're live on Facebook, so you gotta say hi to all your Facebook fans out here. You're having far too much fun. Far too much fun indeed. We've got Stuna, woohoo, our science specialist. How's it going?
It's cold.
You're very rosy-cheeked.
Yeah.
It's a little chilly tonight.
Just freshly blew some snot rockets.
Nice, ready to go. So professional.
We're about to measure some oysters out here.
Nice. Tell me about this tool that you're using to measure oysters.
This is a caliper.
Nice. So science.
Moves along.
That moves a lot nicer than the one we used. Yeah, we used one yesterday that we had to like take two hands to move it.
And so essentially we find a live oyster, which at this beach they're kind of everywhere. And we measure from the umbo, which is where the shell begins.
Where they kind of join.
This oyster grows, it adds more shell from this point out. And so
Measure
we're
that.
going to take the greatest length from the umbo over, and then what is right at 69 millimeters.
Nice. All right.
For this cute little Pacific oyster.
Nice. And so,
I have one.
who else is out here tonight with us, Tina?
Holy moly, one more. 113. We have Zoji, we have Steph, we have Kinsey, and we have Dr. Michael Barron.
Nice. This is like your dream team of well-oiled skeleton crew.
What was that, Mike? And yeah, so Steph. Oh, and Hayden's here too. Yeah.
Oh, and
There, she's got 3 starfish.
oh, Hayden's in the dark.
Yeah,
Okay.
we're doing a sea star survey.
Where'd you
as well as
go?
our oyster measurements.
Did your headlamp end? Oh yeah, I see her.
28, 93. Oh, just 193.
All right. So, because it's so windy, I'm gonna not chat with Stina any longer because the wind just cuts through that. It makes it really hard to hear. So I've got my my face like 6 inches from my microphone here, so we should be able to hear me just fine. Let me know if that wind noise gets too unbearable, and I'll try to turn my body. But these rocks here are an incredible source of life here in the intertidal zone. This is a really, really tough place to live, and these animals do an amazing job. So we've got oysters. So you can see here this kind of roundish shell with these kind of convoluted little flutes on it. That is a Pacific oyster. They don't always have those, but that's usually a pretty good indicator. We've got some limpets here, these kind of mountain-shaped shells. Those are a single-shelled animal, similar to snails, but instead of a spiral shell, they have this kind of mountaintop shells. There are a few more snails, periwinkle snails, that do have that true spiral torsion to their shell. And then just so many barnacles. And then not just barnacles, but barnacles on barnacles on barnacles. They're kind of everywhere. Barnacles are crustaceans. They're kind of close to shrimp and crab. They've got jointed legs, which you will see when they're underwater. They'll kick their feet out and grab plankton from the water and use that as an energy source. But what's kind of interesting about barnacles is they never move. For the first maybe 3 or 4 days of their life, they're little larvae. They hatch from eggs and they drift around, and whatever they run into, whether it's a rock or another barnacle shell or your boat or a dock, they'll stick to, and that's it for them. They never get to move again. They stay in that same spot. And depending on the species, they can sometimes get quite large. We have giant acorn barnacles here in the Puget Sound, which get like, I don't know, baseball, softball sized, quite large. So I'm kind of traversing through more of a rocky cobble area. Here's my boot for scale. So these are roughly kind of head-sized and smaller rocks. They would be perfect for flipping if it weren't so stinking cold out. It's very difficult to hold on to barnacle rocks when your fingers are numb, which mine are because it's 40 degrees out. We're getting close to the water, which is where I wanted to make my way. And we kind of timed our broadcast tonight with the low tide so that we would hopefully be able to see some cool things like this. Here we go. We're now to the tidal height where we can see sea stars. So this is a mottled sea star, one of the more common species we find intertidally. And they're called mottled sea stars. That's with a T because they have mottled coloration. Their gills on this individual are orange and the underlying skeleton's kind of like darker, almost bluish. And it kind of gives them a mottled coloration. But the mnemonic device that I like to teach when I'm training people how to identify sea stars is they have long limbs like a model on the runway. So that's the way that you can remember this species. Love to see those guys. And no signs of wasting on that one. That was a nice healthy one. So our team is out here doing a sea star survey. They're looking for sea stars specifically and measuring them. The way you measure a sea star is a little strange because you can't just go like length to length because sometimes they have different length arms. So you pick the longest arm and measure from the center of their oral disc, and that'll get you their measurement. And then we note their condition. Do they have any sort of lesions on them? Are there any signs of wasting? And then we record that. And it's really helpful for scientists to be able to track sea star wasting. So we've got a couple of crabs here. These are red rock crabs and they're very great at camouflaging. We've got kind of one right here. And this shows off really nicely crabs' adaptation to be buried like this. All of their sensory organs, their little antenna, their eyes, their mouth parts are all right up at the top. So they can bury their whole body underneath with just their little faces sticking out. There are so many shrimp. Look at them. They've kind of been stranded in this little clamshell. And all around me, all these little puddles. Oh, here's a fish. We got a tide pool sculpin here. Hi, buddy. Did the tide leave you high and dry? That happens quite often. Animals that are normally found swimming can sometimes find themselves stranded for the moment. But most of these species are adapted to this. They're able to survive during the low tide just fine. Oh, here's a beautiful mottled sea star again. This one's quite large. There's my boot for scale, so pretty good sized one. So this side of the beach is where we do our monitoring, but this location, this beach, is one of my favorites because it's got a really wide variety in different substrates. Oh, here we have a dead red rock crab. I can tell it's dead because it's kind of stinky. So I'm not going to hang around there. You guys at home have the luxury of being warm and dry and hopefully not stinky crab zone. You got some more? I just saw two. Ooh, good. Oh, I love those blue ones. Oh, yes. Thank you.
That one over there.
Oh, yeah.
That one has the regrowing arms.
Oh, little nubby arms. There they are. And an orange one. And then a nice blue one. So pretty. Very nice. All right, well, I'm going to walk along and see what else we can find. Hopefully more healthy sea stars. That's always great. But yeah, I was saying I love this beach because of the variety of habitats. Because all it takes is a little change in the substrate. You know, a little less rocks and a little bit more sand or more mud or big boulders. Oh, you guys want to see a bunch of sea stars? A ton. Look at all these little babies.
So afraid to step on any.
There are, let's see, I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 at least. There's 13 little sea stars here. Sorry, I'm looking not through my screen, so apologies for that terrible filming for just a moment. But look at these tiny things. Oh, this is so exciting.
Oh my god.
They're adorable.
Yeah, that's gonna be the
So let me figure sweat and show you
I go
here.
back for the other.
These are so cute. These are gonna be like in your tiny zone.
Yeah.
Your smallest column.
Do you want to go get that thing?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll let you
Here,
truck
will
this
you?
time.
Look, there's a chitin right there.
Oh yeah.
Oh, wait, we're resetting it.
Oh yeah.
On the chitin.
And there's
Chitin.
one there too.
Chitin. And so many little sea
How
stars.
many did we see?
Well, I saw at least 11. We can pull them out and actually count because we're gonna measure. There. We'll just make sure that we keep them right close to this rock so they don't get too dislodged. But what an awesome little find! I love that. Let's see what else this rock has. And where we start to see the baby, the juveniles, we'll see more. So my guess is underneath most of these large rocks there are more of those littles. Oh yeah, here we go. Few more. These look to be mottled, but I'm not 100% positive. Oh yeah, they love the same habitat. I got another at least 6 on this side. Lots of happy healthies. I would say, yeah, I got another anemone here too. What a great rock. All you need is one nice big boulder. This is what we call a Glacial Erratic. It's a big rock that was brought in, pushed here by the glaciers during the ice age that carved out the rest of the Salish Sea. It's a really, really kind of unique habitat. And you can see the water is very much stirred up tonight, so we're not going to be able to walk in the water, which is actually good news for me because last night I got a little too wet, got my overalls soaking wet, and then I bent down and then I got my butt wet and it was just a whole mess. So I'm going to try to stay a little drier tonight. Still tons and tons of little shrimp everywhere. Let's go check out this other boulder. Larger rocks offer some permanency to this environment. The big waves can shift the smaller rocks around and kind of be a less secure place. So large rocks tend to collect animals. Let's see if there's anybody hiding over there. Just the usual barnacles and limpets and chitins. Very nice. All right, let's go check over here. I think I already see another sea star. Yep, here we go. There's a little sea star. Now, you would normally maybe worry about them if they were upside down like this, but that is totally fine for an intertidal species because as the water leaves, they can't really hold on very well, and so they kind of tip backwards and fall over. When the water returns, they can flip themselves over, no problem. But check out this teeny tiny little chitin. Oh, adorable. All right, friends. Well, I think this is probably a great place for me to stop. Thanks for tuning in with us tonight. We'll bring you another quick trip down the beach tomorrow. We'll be back at this beach, but at a different location. So it's a really big park. So we have plenty of opportunities to choose from. So you'll be able to kind of compare tonight's broadcast with yesterday's. So thanks everybody for tuning in. We'll see you again tomorrow.